Welcome to Holding Space. Michael Zen is a visual producer and creative photographer using his imaginative visionary energy to channel Zen and hold space for spiritual and innovative discussion. Each episode creates a supportive, accepting, and open environment that allows exploration and expertise to come together with engaging and entertaining convergence. With guest and community all helping the shape of the way, Michael is grateful to be together to hold space. Now here is your host of Holding Space, Michael Zen.
Yes, here I am. I just want to say thank you, Todd, for all those wonderful things that you say in the intro. I love listening to that. I feel so flattered. I blush over here by myself when I'm listening to it. It looks like somebody's having some problems here. Hold on, I'm just getting some pop-ups I gotta get out of my face. What's up, Bernadette? Good to see you. Welcome to Holding Space. That means it's Tuesday. It's September 9th. It's 9 o'clock. It's the 999 portal at 9 o'clock. Welcome to this moment here in my space in Eastern Standard Time, of course. It is. And what is happening here with the comment? Oh, man, some stuff going on. All sorts of technical stuff happening. I think I wanted to say hello to Bernadette. There we go. All right. Technical problems out of the way. Nope. Another pop-up happening. Just remove that out of my way. I don't know what the heck is going on. Kelly warned me today. She said some things are going on with Facebook. So apparently the Facebook streams are all giving me messages that they're not coming up. And what is up, Evelyn? Good to see you. Anyway, let me get this out of the way. I'm holding space. It's Tuesday. I want to just all get grounded where we take a couple of deep breaths. I want to remind you, Jennifer Rose, always out there reminding me to remind you, if you're here watching live on Tuesday, hashtag live in the comments helps us tickle the algorithm, let them know something's happening, lets other people know that maybe it's something going on here. I don't know, this pop-up keeps coming up. Oh, all I got to do is click off to the side. What's up, Jennifer? And Full Moon Madness. I think that's what's going on today. Definitely. All right. So I know I need this. I don't know if you guys need this. And let me know if you do this with me, because I know for me, when I do it for myself, but I'm imagining you doing it with me. And I'm hoping that it's beneficial to take a couple of deep breaths, grounding deep breaths together, in and out. I do it while I'm ringing my bowl sage here, and we do it together. So it's usually like a nice 1, 2, 3, hold, and then I push it out like that. All right. So let's do 3 of them together. That's 1 in and out. Nice, and breathe in, hold in, push it out. One last one together. Pushing out everything from my day, from these technical difficulties that were just happening, feeling them just leave and put me in the space where I need to be so that I can hold space for an awesome new guest. I'm super pumped. I was in the green room, I guess they call it, the backstage, the virtual, the backstage before the show, talking to my guest who I haven't met yet and I had no idea was from the UK. Kelly's been booking my guests, and she said, "You got Simon Stone coming on." I was like, "Awesome!" And I looked him up, and I didn't really find much. And I was like, "Oh, interesting, a mystery." And there you go. He said hello, and I found out he was from the UK. So I am going to stop babbling like I usually do here at around 9:05. I find myself babbling, and I'm going to welcome to Holding Space the incredible Simon Stone. What's up, Simon?
Good evening, Michael. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever anyone's from. But thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. It's great to have you. I'm super excited for this conversation as we started getting to know each other and, knew that we were kindred spirits and kind of came from the same source, right? Which is I think we knew that anyway, but we knew that we could talk about it and kind of relate to that idea. So I'm very excited to talk to you. So you come on my show. I'm usually holding spaces for psychic mediums and channelers and all sorts of metaphysical modalities. And Kelly told me you were an evidential medium, but in looking you up, I also saw that you were a Reiki practitioner, Reiki master, or Reiki, which is to me totally related, totally the same thing. My wife is a Reiki master as well, and I just believe everything is energy. So everything's an energetic exchange. Even a medium is having an energetic exchange with a different realm, and Reiki is an energetic exchange with the living person, and just being able to kind of connect and do stuff. So, tell me how you got involved with energy.
Well, first of all, I just want to say, like you say, it's the 9th of the 9th today. The energy portal. We've had the blood moon recently, solar eclipse, lunar eclipse. We've got so much going on, and it is, and I completely agree with you. Evidential mediumship, psychic, healer, Reiki, whatever it is, it's all energy. It's absolutely all energy. And how did I first become involved in energy? I've been doing this now, actually physically doing this work, developing, doing it out, working with people, being a medium for about 15 years now, off and on. But I knew, in hindsight, I knew there was something back when I was a child. I could see what I now know as spirit when I was younger, very much younger, but also from my early years, from 0 to 5, I could speak, but no one could understand me. So I was very much, I had to learn, or used to get frustrated when people couldn't understand what I was saying. So I had to learn a way of communicating with, via speech. So I very much at a very early age understood about people's body language,
Right,
tones, and things like that. So in hindsight, I look back, I had experiences that taught me about energy, and I was very sensitive anyway. I
right,
mean, I always saw that as a bad thing when I was a child, when you used to go, oh, you're too sensitive, because
right,
of the
right,
human construct when someone's too sensitive. And
right, right.
so I always
Sure.
saw it as a negative thing for a long while, but it was something deep within me that I just always trusted.
Right.
Whether someone was being deceptive to me or even looking for something, I could feel if I was near it, if that would make sense,
Mhm.
or now what I know is it. But I agree with you. Absolutely everything comes down to energy.
Right.
People say to me, how do I connect to spirit when I do mediumship? And I say, I don't connect to spirit. I connect to me. I already am spirit. And I think we
Mm.
forget that
Love
sometimes.
that. I love that. But let me ask you a question. Let me go back for a second. You said when you were younger, people didn't understand you.
Yeah.
Do you mean like conceptually, or were you speaking light language? What do you mean
I
by
think it was the light language more than anything. It was, bearing in mind, we all have different upbringings and different people, and we come from different parts of the world and things like that. But I grew up in a family that very much didn't talk about this. It wasn't a bad thing.
Mhm,
It was never put down, or it was just never discussed.
mhm,
But I do remember when I was about 7 or 8 years of age, um, I had I don't know, a pulling, an inspiration, whatever you like to call it, towards religion at the time, Christianity and things like that. And I actually became a choir boy for a couple of years, so I learned the religious side of
sure,
certain things or whatever, but without the dogma.
sure.
Um, and so that so I was very sort of open to, and no one in my family was like that. I come from a very non-religious family, again, not
Mhm,
in a bad way, just
mhm,
they
mhm.
just didn't have those sort of beliefs
Sure.
so much. And but I did, so I was always slightly different. So it wasn't so much people didn't understand me in a bad way. It was just I I think I was just different to some people and how I thought. And I would always go on, I've always worn my heart on my sleeve, so I'd always live on emotions anyway. And if you're talking
Mhm,
about all different aspects, I'm a Cancerian as a sign, so I'm very supposed to be very in tuned emotionally and things
mhm,
like that anyway, and very much a water sign, hence why I live on the boat. But So yeah, I very much gone with how I felt in life. So if something felt right, you do it. You know, something didn't feel right, it'll be a warning or whatever. You'd have that battle
Sure.
with your ego, whatever it may be. But again, everything is down to energy, and always just went off with whatever I felt was the right thing to do.
Yeah, totally important. And then what was I going to say? You talked about oh my god, I forgot what I was going to say. I had a thought in my head, and then I got enchanted by what you were saying. I mean, I love, you said it. You were talking about kind of being drawn to religion, and I wanted to say, that I think that there's a lot of, you were drawn to the parts of religion, I think, that speak to the spiritual side of it, right? To treat others the way you want to be treated, the love side of it, like I think religion gets a bad rap, right? I'm not into organized religion, and because of that bad rap, right? I think there's reasons.
On that, sorry, on there's two
That's
things
right.
just quickly. I don't like the word religion, but I can understand the word faith.
Right. Yep.
And
Me
I
too.
think there's a massive difference between the two.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, and that's what I was saying. Like, I usually say, oh, I'm not into organized religion, but is because of, the reason there's a bad rap is because of the negative things, right? But the basis of religion is that same thing. You know what I mean? And even things that I think aren't talked about in religion, the idea of self-love, right, is important, and love in general. And it was funny. I struggled with the word God for a very long time. I replaced it with the word universe in my conversations in my head whenever I could. And then one day I just kind of came to terms with it, and I just understood it's a word, and it's what I think it is. I struggled with the idea of the personification of the concept, right? And I was just like, well, that's not me. I don't personify the concept when I think of what I think of as God. So I stopped having.
I also think because of the word God and the implications and the emotions that can trigger in people, I think subconsciously, I've done exactly the same as you. I've consciously tried to change the word from God to universe to faith to higher power. I've tried to use whatever word other than the word God, because I was concerned that someone would have a nervous twitch because I'm mentioning God and bringing in religion. And I was exactly the same as you. I got to that point where I just accepted it, and I will use the word God now.
Yeah.
And it's not me saying God in a religious context. It's like you say, I'm using a word to describe something that someone would understand. And I feel if someone has a mental, emotional reaction to someone using the word God, it's not the person who used the word God's problem.
Right.
I think it's the person who's had that reaction that should then ask
Right.
themselves,
Right.
why have I reacted to that?
Right. And that comes from your own reacting to it, right? And being like, why am I reacting to it? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly why I explored it. And the same thing with the word faith. I had a problem with that because it was so heavily tied to the religion. And then I was like, well, faith just means believing in something that you don't understand. That's all it means, is that you trust in it, and that you have faith. So I came to terms with that word as well.
Goes with what you just said, Michael, about self-love as well. You said about self-love. Now, how to get self-love to what we're talking about? Well, what we forget, I think, the spiritual journey. I made this mistake many moons ago. We have this concept that the spiritual journey is something outside of us. It's something extra we do, a hobby that, and so on and so forth, and things like that. Spiritual journey is entirely about you. And self-love should always be the first step, because how can we go out into the world with confidence, with healing, to help other people, to be authentic to ourselves, everything else, if we don't know ourselves and if we're not truly happy in ourselves? Now, we've just also said we're completely energy. Now, if we're a ball of energy or an energy being that's walking around and has got unresolved conflicts deep within us, any triggers or traumas, any perceptions that may not quite be right or whatever, they're going to create energy within us and going to create conflict or the opposite or whatever it is, depending on what energies you're coming up against. Now, part of my spiritual journey was was looking at myself, because we always talk about ascension and growing and going to a higher level. How do we achieve that? And we, again, because of society, because of programming, because of how we thought we should be, because of our own beliefs and things like that, they're not quite right, or have been programmed into us, or anything else like that. How can we go out there and help other people and do all this other stuff if we're not quite right ourselves?
Right.
And I remember reading somewhere, and it was only relatively recently, a couple of years ago, in America, I believe they'd done a study with about 20 to 30,000 people to study the power of energy. And I mean, we all hear reports about when someone's ill, so many people would pray for one people and they don't pray for somebody else, and the person who gets prayed for gets healthier quicker, and things like that. So we know connection with energy and all that works, but they wanted to see what energy or what emotion and things like that the human can experience that will create the most powerful energy in your body. Now, everyone would automatically, would all go say, "Oh, it's got to be love. It's got to be love." And love comes second. Then people say, "Well, could it be anger?" No, anger came third. And one that came number one was authenticity.
I knew that was the answer.
When people are truly authentic to themselves, they've healed any triggers, any traumas. They've removed any construct or programming that you may have had through your upbringing or where you live, because how you may see the world, Michael, will be completely different to how I see the world.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
purely by experiences. But when you go deep down in yourselves, and you do take yourself to some dark places, trust me, as I'm sure you're aware, but when you come out the other side of it, and how long it takes, this feeling of when people say try and find the real you and all this modern day of positive thinking, which is all great, when you actually achieve that feeling is I think one of the best feelings I've ever had in my life, and it's given me a point of reference at this point forward ever in my life. Because we all still have to learn, we're all still going to have experiences. But I've got a point of reference. I now know what I feel like with just me deep inside my soul, and I know how good that feels and how self that. Now I've got that point of reference. I know occasionally when I'm grounding myself, or I need to just get myself back to being me, I know where I'm bringing myself back to.
Totally.
I've done all that work on myself.
I love what you're saying, Simon. It makes so much sense to me, and I feel like you just kind of gave me a new way to describe kind of the way I feel. You know what I mean? I think when you reach that point, like you said, for me, part of the exercise, and I talked about it on the show here before, is the mirror, like the actual looking in the mirror and seeing my reflection and coming to terms with how I felt about it. Now, I'm not just talking about physical flaws, like oh my god, I gained so much weight, or my oh my god, look at my thing is getting all gray. You know what I mean? I'm talking about connecting with yourself, and again, I mean, I'll tell this story again because I feel like this is part of it's something that people can relate to, and I think when people hear it, it makes sense, right? And I don't have any children. Do you have any children?
No.
Okay. I have nephews. I've experienced children from birth to becoming adults, and I know the relationship that a father or mother has with their child, but I don't. I mean, I can only imagine it, right? I can imagine that gazing at your own child is like gazing at the most perfect being you can imagine, and there's so much pure love for that being. Like I can imagine it. I can conjure it up right now. It gave me chills. I wanted to feel that when I looked in the mirror. I felt like that is self-love. You should feel that when you look in. You should see a perfect being. You should see no flaws, or all the flaws, and love them.
Yes.
And I didn't when I came up with that idea. I didn't feel that way. and it took me a couple of years walking past the mirror, and just like coming back and checking and being like, hey, did I see it? Nah, I didn't see it. But the moment I saw it, that was it. That was what I felt you were describing and what
It's
you were
exactly
saying.
that, and I love how you described that.
Yeah.
Look at yourself like you're looking at your own child, and I absolutely love that, because whenever I do teach people, whenever I conduct workshops, and I find that in amongst the group there's somebody who doesn't quite like themselves, one of the things I get them to do is just say every morning and every night, look at yourself in the mirror and just say out loud, "I love you."
Mm-hmm.
And the first couple of times you're going to feel stupid, you're going to feel embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
But get
Mm-hmm.
past that, literally within a week, you're going to feel that difference, because we're going back to what we're talking about, energy. So if you're looking and saying and doing something, and you're doing it in the right intention and the right mean, eventually that energy, that frequency raises, and your own body starts to believe it, your own mind starts to believe it. And
So
yeah,
true.
it's great. And I love what you said there. Look at them. I love that analogy. We
I'm
look at
so
yourself.
happy that, yeah, I'm happy. And
Beautiful.
and what you're saying too, I think what you're adding on to that, the energy part too, right? Not only is there energy in that interaction, right? Just looking and feeling a certain way, but you added this level of saying something. And I think that's important too, because I think in order to say something, you have to think it first, right? So I think thoughts are very powerful, and then words become frequency, and you're putting out a frequency, and consistently putting that frequency out, and like look what it translates into. And it sounds so silly, and it sounds like, how is that possible? How could that work?
I love what you just said there again. It's another saying that I've been saying for a long while. I say to people, if you can think it, you can picture it. If you can picture it, you can believe it. If you can believe it, you become it.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's how when we start edging into the realms of manifestation and
yeah,
things like that, this is all it is. It's creating that vibration,
yeah.
energy,
And
that
saying it out loud, like you just said too, saying it out loud, right? What's religion, right? We're talking about religion, and the Lord said, "Let there be light," and He said it. He said it. He's the
exactly.
words, the frequency made it so.
This is how it all works. This is spiritualism, energy, whatever you like to call it. We were talking briefly. I love that we said about the green room before.
Yeah.
There's been a massive shift in the last 5 6 years. We all know that. We felt that. We can speculate and talk about that anyway. But there's been such a shift, not just in this last 6 years. I've been doing this now, like I said, for about 12, 15 years off and on.
Mhm.
And before, I'd done a lot of stuff online. I used to do a sort of a circuit of local spiritualist churches, local spiritualist groups where I used to live, and I go around, do demonstration services. Lovely, learn what you do, get better. Because we all get better, even mediums and
Yeah.
psychics. We
Always
all have to
working.
learn.
Yeah.
We all get better and everything else. So that's how I sort of learn my craft, as it were, as some people would like to say, whatever. But I've forgotten where I was going to go with this. Actually, I hate that when that happens.
Now you did it.
My
Yeah,
mind
yeah.
went, my mind went there. But again, it's that was it. There's been a massive shift from back in the day when I grew up. Spiritualism or a medium to me was, and I'm not being nasty or ignorant or anything else, but I grew up
Yep.
in the UK in old English seaside towns. That spiritualism to me was a older lady along the seafront calling
Mhm,
herself Gypsy Rosalie with a
mhm.
crystal ball, and you paid her some money and you have a little palm reading or whatever. That was as far as it went.
Right.
I believed I had an interest in ghosts and aliens and things like that. I loved it, but never really understood it. So, and then I don't know in America. I know you've got some people like James Van Prague, uh, John Edwards,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
and a few other people and all that are around and things like that. But they didn't come into my lexicon or awareness till much later on, until about the 90s
Mm.
for me as an adult. And so the world of spiritualism, so I still saw it as an entertainment thing.
Sure, sure.
I
Yeah,
knew
yeah,
there
yeah.
was seriousness to it. Obviously, I did. But
Right.
as regards the mediumships aspect of it, it was still seeing either someone on a TV program or someone on a stage. And I think spiritualism is coming away from that. That's still going to be there. There's still going to be demonstrations and that will all still happen. But It's about awareness. It's more than just someone saying, "Oh, they must be born with this gift if they can talk to people who've passed." No, everybody can do this. We are energy beings, and that awakening, I think, has really started to filter through, getting people to understand. And we talked about it before we came online.
Yeah.
With COVID.
Yeah.
Yes, we know about COVID. I'm not going to go over that, but let's look at the consequences of COVID. Many
Yeah.
people got locked down, very lonely, sat at home, lots of time on their hands, start asking questions. Then there's all the narrative about people debating, was things real, was things a conspiracy? I don't care what the answers were, but people started to think, people started
Sure.
to ask questions.
Sure.
And in
Well,
that,
they also, not sorry to interrupt, but I think we were also put in a position, right? Because they were
yes,
there. I don't want to say they. I don't like they,
I
right?
understand,
Quote
yeah.
unquote they. But there were definitely we were put in a position as people
Yes,
to pick a side, right? And that was besides the fact that there was an actual virus happening and taking lives, right? There was something serious happening, but
very
we
much.
were and I know for me personally, it divided my family. You know what I mean? I was called, "You're one of those people," right? Because I didn't want to get vaccinated. You're one of those people, you know what I mean? And like I was told that I had, I'm reacting, I'm triggered. But I was told that like I didn't care about other people, that if they were going to die, and that was just not the case. You know what I mean? I knew that
This
that
is
was not the
this
case.
is but this is the problem, and I'm seeing it. We're seeing it a lot in the UK, to tell you the truth, at the moment, and I'm sure you'll have examples with
Mhm.
what's going on over the other side of the pond. But again, part of the spiritual journey is learning how to put aside the human ego.
Mhm.
And I still falling into it. I
Yeah,
still fall into my ego.
I just
Um,
did. I just did.
exactly. We all do. And when someone does something does something, I had a great speech once, and it was actually on a film, and it was an American president saying it. But he was saying, um, let's see you advocate against somebody who spends their lifetime advocating against what you would spend a lifetime fighting against yourself, and accept it and respect it. Then at least you. It was a reference to you. Then you're living in the land of the free, but forget about living in the land of the free and everything else. Surely that's what we should be doing anyway, isn't it?
Mhm.
We're talking about energy and authenticity earlier. That's what authenticity is: having the confidence to stand up and say, no, I don't want to do that, or no, I
Right.
don't agree with you. Doesn't make you a bad person.
Right.
I just don't agree with that.
Right.
Doesn't mean to say they're wrong or you're wrong or they're right and you're right. It is,
Right.
but that's what it should be: healthy debate. But I feel the problem is you then have um, people, whatever, I don't know, egos that want to control narratives, want to direct the flow of other people,
Mhm.
where
Mhm. Mhm.
the only thing we can control in this life is our own self. That's the only thing
Right.
that
Right.
we have full control of, is
Yeah.
ourselves. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've said this the other day, and I've said this many times. We don't change the world by jabbing the finger in someone's face, telling them what they should and shouldn't be doing, or arguing with them, or whatever. The way we change the world is by being the inspiration, by
That's it.
working on ourselves, trying to be the best versions of who we can. Yes, we will make mistakes. Yes, we will do things wrong, but we learn from them and we become a better
Yeah.
human, and so on. And then what happens is people look and they go, why are they so happy? They're having a great life.
Mhm.
They may not have any money, but they look really happy.
Mhm.
Like, do you know what? I want a piece of what they've got.
Mhm.
And that's how we change the world,
Mhm.
by being the best versions of who we can
Yeah,
be.
yeah, I agree. And you were saying it earlier, authenticity, right? Just that's a lot of times I think that's, I don't love the word spiritual journey, right? Myself, right? Because you say it, I think it's just misread, right? For me, spiritual journey is life. Life is the spiritual journey, right? This moment is the spiritual journey. Um, and I think that yeah, I think unfortunately, a lot of people don't take the time to slow down and and just kind of look at the ideas that we're talking about here. The ideas of energy, the ideas of being in control of your own energy, right? And it's like being able to
Well,
decide.
this is you saying be control of your own energy. That's perfect. I understand what you're saying about spiritual journey, because everybody's journey is going to be different. Like your journey is going to be different to my journey, because my lessons are going to be different to your lessons. And so
Completely.
saying spiritual journey implies that there's a set process that you have to go through,
Right,
and there
right,
isn't. The
right,
journey is your journey.
right, right,
Um, so, like you say, how you keep yourself in check or react. How do you do that? You have to do that by digging deep in yourself, learning all your triggers and traumas, learning all your learned behaviors and why you do them.
yep,
So when someone says something that would ordinarily trigger you, because you've done that work and you processed it and you've laid it to rest, you're
right,
not going to get that trigger. You're not going to
right,
get that reaction.
right,
And this is what I'm saying. So the more we look at ourselves, the more we find peace within ourselves, as you
right,
said earlier, accept so much more. Because you said it yourself, you changed the word God to something else.
right,
It wasn't just your understanding of it or whatever. It was also a fear of what other people would think by using the word God.
right,
and
right,
and and we've allowed an external energy to affect us, to change how we, and then suddenly, like you say, you get that acceptance, you find that peace, and
yep,
then you find it's okay. Do you know what? If I use the word God, they know what I'm talking about. Why do I
right,
need to use a specific word? But
right,
that's the problem. I think there's too many things out there where if you don't fit a certain person's narrative, then it causes divisions. And
right,
I think some of those divisions are purposefully caused.
right.
I genuinely do, because you keep people divided, um, then
You can control them. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Listen, I'm not a big fan of like fear-based living, right?
Yeah,
And conspiracy theories and even that stuff. I try not to talk about it.
yeah.
But it doesn't mean that I don't agree with some of those things, or I don't, or not aware that some of those things exist and happen. You know what I mean? And like you said, it's like, well, I mean, and me too. I feel like energy is everything. So do I give that energy, or do I not give that energy, right? And so I don't give that energy by saying, okay, I'm not even going to think about that. I'm going to just focus. I'm going to do things that make me happy, things that feel right to me. You said feelings and
And that's
emotions.
not being selfish either.
And then, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And
That's
again,
knowing
yeah.
yourself and loving yourself. I think, for me, that is. And some of my audience knows, I'm actually working on getting it to a physical point where I can actually print it. But I worked on this book, kind of collaborated a little bit with AI, called "You Are the Answer," right? Because I feel like, that everybody asks, why am I here, why am I here, why am I here? And you are the answer, is what I think when I hear that. You're here to be you. Nobody else can be you, and you can't be anybody else, no matter how hard you try. So
Yeah,
that's the purpose. And I just Bashar. I don't know if you know who Bashar is,
yeah,
Daryl Anka. I just heard Bashar say, the meaning of life is to give it meaning.
yes.
And the thing about that's so brilliant is that's different for everybody. If you want to be
Oh, completely,
a world-class
completely.
cellist in an orchestra, or an Olympic swimmer,
And
like,
go and be it.
then go and be it, right?
I very much, you mentioned Bashir. I love trance. I love that. And I was very privileged. I was very, very, very lucky in my development. Like I said, about 15 years ago, I made a conscious decision to start going to circles to try and develop and look into things like that. And a lady who ended up becoming my mentor, she does trance and things like that. And I've got many recorded hours of sessions of trance with this spirit, and
Wow.
the lessons and the information that I come that me and a few other people there, that all this information, and we were taught so much, and it's all down to perception and belief.
Mm-hmm.
So we create the worlds around us. So, like you say, if you want to be, a world renowned cellist or whatever, then go and do it. But you've
Yeah.
got to put your energy and your intention into that to go and do it.
That's right.
Or
That's
it's
right.
not just handed to you. And so, like Bashir said, you create life.
Yeah.
So make it, go and live it, do the things that but also I also believe, I do believe in that you can have in this believing you can do anything and achieve anything. But I think there still has to be a certain amount of pragmatism to it.
Sure.
And what I mean is, Michael, if you suddenly woke up one day and say, do you know what? I want to be the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. In this moment where you are in this life, practically, let's be honest, it's not
Right,
really
right.
happen, is it?
Of
Do you
course,
know what
of
I mean?
course. Sure. I
I
know
think there
exactly what
has
you
to
mean.
be a certain amount of realism in there.
Unfortunately, it takes us this long in life to realize these
Oh,
things.
yeah.
If I knew this
I
at
had all
20
these
years, yeah,
thoughts and feelings years
right.
ago.
If I knew at 20 years old,
Yeah,
things would
be a
probably be
different
different.
matter. But again, that's your journey.
Yeah.
Maybe you weren't meant to have that feeling, those thoughts until this moment in your
Right.
life. This
I believe I absolutely was, or else I wouldn't have.
exactly,
That's what happened.
But again, I struggled with this for a little while because I'm a human ego. Divine timing. I want things, I want them now. But
Right.
again, that's the society we've been bred into, we've been brought up in, and we've been led to believe. I don't feel like that now, but there's still times I get impatient and
Right.
things like that. But I have come to surrender to that divine timing, and what will be, and it will happen when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And the freedom that gives you, actually, I think we forget that as well. When you can let go, don't get me wrong, there's still moments where I grab hold on tight and things like that. I still do.
It's part of
But
being human, unfortunately,
exactly.
or fortunately.
Well, yeah, that as well, because we've got to look at that we're actually really lucky to be here.
Yeah,
Because when you
exactly.
speak to Bashir and other spirits who are in trance and you ask them what it's like over the other side and everything, and they said it's like, I can eat an apple, but I can't tell you what it tastes like.
Right.
And things like that. I can't
This
tell you
is supposed to be a privilege. That's what we're told, right? This is a
exactly.
privilege.
So if it's a privilege, let's have as much fun and let's try and live it as much as we can. Because I'm 49 and I've got to say, I feel really quite lucky with the life that I've had, purely because of the experiences and the things that I've done. I feel like I've lived three lifetimes in my 49 years with the amount of different things that I've done. I mean, I traveled the world for like 10 years and experienced different cultures and everything else like that. And I feel extremely privileged for the life that I've had. And I just wish that on everybody else.
And that is called gratitude. That's one of the, like, I would say probably there's 5 ingredients, right? And that's definitely one of those top 5 ingredients to living sane and happy and productive and giving to others, right? Even just by being authentic, that's the part of that authenticity, So I was thinking about this, and I'm worried. I'm wondering what your opinion about this. This is a little far out there, so forgive me for jumping on a tangent, right? I believe that we are part of a collective. I believe that we are all one when it comes down to it. Like I am you, you are me, right? And that's hard to wrap your head around as a 3D being, as a human being with limited language and understanding. But I believe that. I think I feel it in my bones, And I was driving today and trying to kind of contemplate how this works, right? Because I know I create my own reality. I know thoughts and words and how that all works. But, and I say but, I don't know if that's the right word. I also exist in a collective where those thoughts and those realities exist, right? So I'm driving in my car, I'm looking at the car in front of me, I'm like, that's just not just my mind making up that car, because there's someone in that car who's their mind, they're in that car and they're part of the collective, and they're creating this 3-dimensional experience with me. Do you think about that at all? Like, is that like way far out there? I wasn't doing any drugs, by the way.
No, all the time. That's another thing I love about it. There's not a subject that you just can't not think about. All the time. I love. Do you know? Have you ever seen or know the film Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey?
Oh, of course, amazing.
I actually love that film.
Yeah.
And I am a believer that past, present, and future happen all at the same time. And how I've come to believe that, and I will get on to what you're talking about and how you
Yeah,
think
no, that's
about
part.
it.
It's part saying those things. I love
Exactly.
that. I love that saying something like that. You're like, I believe that everything's happening all at once, past, future, and present. I don't know what that means,
Well,
but I believe it. I know it.
I know. Well, through some of the things, experiences I've had. So past, present, and future. So if you're thinking about something you would like, or you want something to come in your life, you're obviously tapping into the future. So by you visualizing, thinking about it, and putting your energy into something that will bring that to you, you're already tapping into your future that way, if you think about it.
Mhm.
But also, and this happened to me relatively recently again in the last few years, that your past. Now we've got memories, we've got things like that. So I'm just going to use an instance for me. I'd have a memory of something that wasn't pleasant or whatever when I was a child, and someone took me back to that time, and I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about it. And they go, no, come on, let's go back. So they took back the time. And they said, but I want you to picture that you as you are now,
Mhm.
in your mind's eye, you're picturing yourself standing there watching whatever this memory is of yours.
Mhm.
So I'm like, all right, okay, I get it. So yes, I can see my younger self. I'm seeing whatever's happening. And they said, right, just watch it, observe it. When it's finished, go up to that younger self in your mind's eye and just go up to them and say, you didn't do anything wrong. You know, this isn't your fault, and give them a hug and picture all this in your mind. So I'd done all that, and I just thought, oh, it's just a visualization exercise. When I came out of it, that trauma was no longer a trauma.
Mhm.
I had healed myself because I tapped
Wow.
in that moment into that past.
Wow.
Because I had healed the past, that had obviously then transferred to me
I
in the
love it.
way where that
Yeah.
feeling, that trauma was no longer there.
I've heard a lot of stories like that, which are amazing to hear. But now I heard something recently that I've got to ask you
Mm.
in that story, right? And that is, do you remember as a child seeing yourself tell yourself it was okay?
But I've got to be honest, before that, no.
Okay.
As soon as I've done that, I have a memory of a child of having an image or thought or something.
Wow.
So what you're talking about, so yes and no. Now, is that a
Wow.
yes because of the experience that I had that then created that memory, or is that a true memory? Yeah, Jennifer, like she said, trauma
Wow.
release. It is. But
Amazing.
this is what we got to do. Now, trauma always gets, it's always got to be, really bad or something. It doesn't always have to be that. Yes, a lot of time, but it could be just a telling off or a changing of direction or something like that. It can be anything that's created a behavior in you that's no longer serving you.
Wow.
And once you clear all that and you go through that process, you understand completely what it's truly like to be yourself, rightly or
Yeah.
wrongly, to be authentic. Because now, if I say no, I don't want to do that, I'm doing it purely because I don't want to do that, not because of or I'm agreeing to do something or whatever, not because of some, duty to something or,
Amazing.
something that was drummed into me as a
Yeah, yeah,
child
yeah.
or as a young adult. Now I'm making decisions purely on how I want.
Yeah. What an incredible story. And it makes me want to like have that experience. I want to like do some sort of workshop or exercise where I can go back and talk to my younger self, heal something, and
And
then
it's
have a
visualization.
memory of seeing myself,
We
right?
were talking about it, thinking about it, visual. How do you do it? It's simple visualization.
Yeah.
Now, that's the other thing that I done when I came into the spiritual fraternity community, whatever, 15 years ago. For a couple of years, I used to sit there and all these people talk about stuff, or I'd listen to stuff, and inside my head, I'm going, I haven't got a clue what you're talking about.
Right, right.
I can't relate what you're talking about to my normal everyday life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So part of my development was I learned how to translate a lot of how people talk into right, but this is what they actually mean. This is
Yeah,
how it's
yeah,
actually going to
yeah,
affect
yeah,
you
yeah.
in your everyday
Totally
life.
get what you're saying. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, I can
And I try and
remember.
be as real as I can.
Yeah.
Even in my readings, I always say to people, because I work slightly differently. I connect psychically, and I connect psychic. So if I was giving you a reading, Michael, first of all, I'm not at the moment, but first of all, I would pick up on an energy around you, what you are, and I'll start talking about that first. How you doing, Michael? Blah blah. And as I'm talking, then I'll feel spirit, because it's an external energy coming into me. So
Right.
again, because I've been through all the work that I've been through on
Right.
myself and everything else,
Right.
and I'm naturally clairsentient, empath,
Sure.
and very sensitive anyway. As soon as I feel an external energy or an energy come into me or in me or whatever, I can go, oh, that's not mine. So I can instantly
Right.
go, who are you? What are you
And
doing
you can
here? Or
tune
what are you?
into it. Yeah, you can tune into it and
Exactly.
communicate. That's awesome. Evelyn is asking a question. She says, what do you think about changing the outcome? I've heard that as healing modalities too. So I think that's what you're basically talking about, going into the, to the past and healing yourself as the outcome, changing it so it's not traumatic anymore. I think
Well,
that's exactly
it
what you're
is.
talking about.
Well, it is, because when you do that and you go back, again, it's about thoughts and images. And you say, how do you do it? Picture yourself in your mind's eye, meditate, whatever you do. So meditate, get yourself comfortable, get yourself relaxed, and then just take your mind there, picture it, picture that time. It can be traumatic, I understand. It can be horrible, and I don't recommend it for everybody. And if people feel that they need to seek a mental professional, then please do so. But all I'm saying is, for how it worked for me, is visualize. I visualized that I was in that time again, and I was picturing it. Now, who's to tell me I wasn't doing that?
Right.
No one could tell me I wasn't doing that.
Right.
So I've done it, seen it, healed that, told them I hadn't done anything wrong, whatever it was I needed to say to the younger self. And then when I came back round afterwards, I felt a complete different, that trauma. I could think about it. I'm not triggered by it. It felt great. However, what I would also say, and to reply what Evelyn said, I did notice some subtle differences as well, not just in me, but in my life around me. It's like, oh, that's slightly different, or that person talking to me in a different way to how they would normally do. And it's almost like you change dimension.
I was going to say, it sounds like jumping timelines, right?
It
That's
does,
what
yes.
people
And I
refer to
think
that
that's
as,
what
right?
happens.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that's what happens. Sometimes when you go and heal a part of you and you come back, you bring your consciousness back to the present moment. I think you're on a slightly different timeline. You're on a slightly different, it's still the same thing, because your life is still genuinely the same.
Yeah. You're making me think now that even timelines are energetic.
They are.
Right.
Because
So like
timeline's the perception again.
Yeah.
Timeline's are what you believe.
Totally.
Like you said, Michael, what world do you want to live in? What world do you want to create?
That's been the theme of the last couple of weeks. Everybody on my show, I don't know you, Simon, but everybody on my show knows I went to a retreat in Costa Rica about a month ago. I went down a waterfall. I lost my eyeglasses. I can't see 3 feet around me. I was in Costa Rica. I wasn't getting new glasses. I just kind of dealt with it. It was like the universe was, I knew everything was okay. I was with my girlfriend at the time, and there was a guy there who I knew who was ordained. I said, "You think he'll marry us?" And she said, "Yep, let's do it." I got married spontaneously in Costa Rica. I came home and I said, "Holy shit, I just created my own reality." And it was so amazing.
Jennifer puts it there. We shift frequency.
Yeah, totally.
We're talking about energy. Everything is vibration, frequency, and energy. Now, I came to that conclusion many years ago anyway, because by trade, I'm an engineer. I worked in the British Royal Fleet Auxiliary, part of the Navy, and so on and so forth. And I learned about resonant frequency with that. And then as I sort of grew up and learned more things, that's when it transferred over to spiritualism and energy and frequency. Now, people say, oh, we feel energy. Yes, we feel energy and everything, but we also create it. We're energy generators.
Yes.
Everything
is energy. How many times do we have to say it?
Exactly. But it's how many times we've been around someone who's naturally a happy-go-lucky person. We've spent 5 minutes in their company. They've gone off to do whatever. And then suddenly for the rest of the day, we feel really good about ourselves. We feel really quite uplifting. We feel, oh, I've had a good day today. Well, it's because you've been around someone that's lifted you up. how many times have we been around people that
The opposite.
feel a little bit down and
Yeah.
drained? We spend 5 minutes, they walk away, and suddenly we feel like walking
Yeah.
around like we've been drained of all energy.
So
So,
true.
so we create the energy
Right.
that we want to. How many times we put on a piece of music that we love and it lifts our spirits?
Those are great examples of how energy is everywhere and how we live
Exactly.
energetically. Everything's an energetic exchange. I also use the example of, you might like this, sounds like you talk about this a lot, the idea of going to a concert or to a football game, right? And
Oh,
the collective energy
atmosphere.
that's there, right? I mean, everybody's there with an intention to have a good time and to be in
Yeah,
the moment,
you're in the
and
moment, you're feeling
everybody's
it.
in that moment, right? I mean, that's an
So
amazing thing.
again, it goes to that. I love. I get a lot of references and information through movies as well. Like, but there's that film, isn't there, with Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis, Unbreakable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Samuel L. Jackson was talking about, he's one end of the spectrum,
Hmm.
and then Bruce Willis in the film is the other end, and it's the
Hmm.
same thing about spiritualism and frequency and energy and
Hmm.
all that. So my thing is, like you said, you mentioned concerts or music or football games or whatever, and with the atmosphere, and we can soak it in, and we can really, but we don't need external influences to do that. We can do it ourselves just purely by intention.
Absolutely.
I want to be happy. I am
Absolutely.
happy. I love who I am. I love you, Simon. I say that in the mirror and you think, oh, I love you and kiss you. No, I don't mean that. I love
No.
my soul.
Yeah.
I like who I am.
Absolutely.
I've embraced the uniqueness and the differences and the thing. And I understand I'm here to learn. I'm here for reasons. And
Yep.
any interaction I have with anybody, any living creature, I know is meant to happen, and there's an exchange of energy.
Totally. Total energy exchange is my favorite thing, and I know my audience is probably getting sick of this, but I think what's happening is I'm developing some content to be able to speak to a large audience, because the idea of the moment that you have an interaction with somebody, and this is very, very common, right? You're walking into work, you're walking into school, you go anywhere. Hey, how you doing?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
That moment right there, was I hearing? What was I aware of? Well, I was aware of a lot of people going, I'm hanging in there. It's Monday. Giving me all of this energy. Once I figured out energy, right? I was like, oh, I don't like that. So then I started to intentionally answer that question when I would have that interaction. People say, how you doing? I'd be like, I'm doing great.
Hmm.
I would look for something that I was grateful for so that it was authentic. I wasn't trying to lie and just say, oh, I got to say it's great because that's my experiment. Part of my experiment was actually meaning it and feeling it. Authenticity was part of that experiment. And man, it was like so quickly, it was like it became part of my awareness of, holy shit, look at how important energy is. Look at how much
Exactly.
control we have over energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just such a simple thing with
Yeah.
interactions with people on a daily basis that really, it not only did it work outside of me, but it worked inside of me. It changed me. You know what I mean? Just by doing it.
You reminded me of a film I love. It's called About Time. It's a British film, written
No,
by
I don't know
Richard
that one.
Curtis. Love it, and it's where a guy can take himself back in time and relive moments in time,
Yeah.
and it's the advice his dad gives him at the end of the film that I love. I absolutely love, because his dad could do the same.
Uh-huh.
And his dad came over. He said, "Do you know what the best thing about it is?" He said, well, "Go on, then. What would you do?" He said, "At the end of every day I live, I will then purposely take myself back and relive that same day again, but notice all the things that I missed.
Uh-huh.
Someone, like you say, a coffee seller saying, 'Have a nice day,' and meaning it.
Mhm.
Someone just saying to you,
I
'Hello,'
love
with a
that.
smile on their face
I
and
love that.
meaning it. And I miss all those things the first time around. And
Mhm.
once I got that concept, as you said, there was
Yeah.
just that little change of thought. I do that now. If I go in and buy a newspaper and I give the person behind the counter the money, and I say, "Thank you very much. Have a great day." and
Yeah.
I just turn around and I smile when I do it, and they
Right.
smile back. It's an
Right.
exchange of energy. If
There's
someone,
more authenticity in it. Yeah, you're
I
meaning
used
it.
to mirror energy for
Yeah,
so many years because I didn't understand it.
yeah,
And if
yeah,
someone
yeah.
was standing there in front of me, grumpy and agitated, I
Yeah.
would feel grumpy and agitated. And next thing you know, you're having a conflict and all that. Now, as Jennifer put it in the comments as well, and we've all mentioned, I transmute it.
Yeah.
I change it. They're
Yeah.
grumpy. Doesn't mean to say I have to be.
Yeah.
And I change it. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
notice by the end of it, they're not so grumpy themselves. I feel like Obi-Wan, the Jedi Master.
Yeah, totally. I love it.
These aren't the droids you're looking for. That sort of thing.
I'm so
But
happy that that you came on the show and that we met. You're such an amazing guy. And we didn't even get to like see if we had any energy for readings. We didn't need to. This was just a
time's
great
flown that by already,
this
is
is
it?
a great conversation. No, this was a great conversation. And it made me think of this thing. I don't know if it's related somehow. I'm kind of being compelled to talk about this little story of time traveling, right? With yourself. And just the idea of waking up and making your bed and
I
being
love it.
like, I'm making my bed for myself later so that when I come home to a nice bed, I can look at it and go, thank you, morning self,
Yeah.
for doing that. You know what I mean? And then
That American admiral did that famous speech of the American Navy Sea Admiral online. I can't remember his name, and he's doing
oh
a
yeah. I do know what you're talking about.
graduation
Yeah,
ceremony or something,
yeah.
and he says about the first thing you should do is make your bed in the morning because then you've achieved something.
Yeah. That's another reason I don't make my bed. Sometimes I do.
can't believe
But
time.
when I do, I think about that. I'm like, I'm proud of myself for doing this. When I don't, I'm like, you know what, my later self doesn't mind.
Well, that's the other thing as well. I think we all do it. I've learned to stop kicking the hell out of me when you think, oh, I'll do that. I need to do that. And you forget because something else, or you end up doing something else. And then again, we get so programmed. Oh, I should have done that. Oh, what a naughty boy, or whatever. And it's all just noise in our head. Let's be honest.
Totally.
You know?
And that's the biggest enemy until you love that enemy, until you greet it and you hug it and you say, okay, I know where you're coming from and you're a part of me and I accept you for who you are and what you are. And you know what? Some days I'll let you take the wheel and most days I won't, but some days you'll get the wheel. And it's okay.
It is. But that's the thing. It is. Everything's okay.
Okay.
Deep down, we all know what's right and wrong. Let's be honest. Of course, there's exceptions to the rules, but I'm just saying. And you are your own best teacher. You are your own best guide.
Totally.
How many times have we all done something in our life that we know maybe we shouldn't have done it or whatever, because there's a feeling I shouldn't be doing this or something don't feel right, And so we're our own best teachers, spirit are our own best teacher, energy, whatever it is. We are our own best teachers, and I think
Absolutely.
society has got us away from looking at ourselves and go, do you know what, that don't feel right, and trusting that. I love that, Jill, what you just said, perfectly imperfect.
Totally.
I love that.
Totally.
I don't even call it imperfect because that is being imperfect is the perfect way to be.
That's how you're supposed to be. Yeah, I agree.
Because
It's an amazing oxymoron.
but look at all the famous people throughout history. They were never normal people.
No.
When you start looking at them, they were always something a little bit different. They always stood up, but they were always someone who accepted their differences, their uniqueness, and they championed that, and that's what drove them forward.
Absolutely. Authenticity. We said it. We hit a lot of good points tonight, Simon. I think we had a great conversation. I really enjoyed this
for hours.
Yeah, totally. We'll have to do it again for sure. We'll have to meet up more. Let me I don't even know what I got going on. I think next week I have Lori Anna is going to be on Holding Space. Lori Anna is a friend of mine who is a beautician, but she also is a spiritualist. So she talks about the inner beauty as well as the outer beauty and kind of like connecting all of that. So we're going to talk about that next week. Anyway, Simon, again, you have been amazing. I don't want you to go away, but I'm gonna say goodnight to the crowd. Thank you guys so much, Jennifer and Evelyn and Jill and oh my God, so many people here. Catherine was here and Courtney Lopez. So many great people. Lynn Junot was here. Amazing. I love this community. Thank you guys for always being here and supporting me and Simon. And what do you got going on next, Simon? Where can people find you?
I just find me online. I've always I've always just been one of these people. Spirit will bring me the people that I'm meant to work with.
Okay, yeah, I'll say I didn't see a website or anything.
I'm not
I would have put it up.
Just find me on Facebook.
I found you on Facebook, so yes,
exactly.
You can find.
I'm sure there'll be things in the future where I'll come out more with other things, but I have worked a lot of Spirit will bring me the people that I'm meant to, and I work with the people that I do. But what I've got going on, just dems and services coming up. I'm going with the flow with Spirit, but again, there's a lot of changes going on at the moment for everyone.
Absolutely.
There's a hell of a lot of shifting going on. We're talking about timelines. The last 6 months, people are being shifted and moved around. People are losing relationships, friendships, jobs, things. Okay, we'll see it as negative, but we know, Michael, it's a clearing, and then they bring in the new thing. Next thing you know, you've got a new job, or you've got a new relationship, or you've got a new friend, or whatever. There's a lot of changes going on, so there's a lot of up and down amongst people. So at the moment, I'm doing a lot of healing. I'm helping a lot of people with energy work, or just talking to people to get them to, oh, okay, I get it now, and it brings them peace. So at the moment, I still feel there's a lot of that, and September's going to be very busy for energy anyway. So
yep.
Sorry,
truth. A lot of truth, Simon. I definitely feel what you're saying. I think a lot of people do right now. But again, thank you so much for being here, and I will definitely see you again. Don't go away. I'm going to run the credits, but don't you go anywhere, because I want to talk to you. And I will see you guys next week. On Thursday, I have on the live stream of consciousness. I'm super excited about this. Tyler Engel is a guy who has a website and a Instagram presence called Base Forge, and he is very heavily into ancient knowledge. He's been to Egypt. He talks about cymatics, a lot about sound and frequency, and how it's all tied into the hieroglyphics. And really, he's so informative. I've been like trying to study his stuff so I could keep up with him in the interview. So Thursday on the live stream of consciousness, I want you guys to check that out. Thank you guys for being here, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.
Bye-bye.